As the MotoGP paddock wrapped up a dramatic and attrition-heavy German Grand Prix weekend, all eyes turned to the man who didn't just survive the chaos of the Sachsenring, he mastered it with ruthless precision and control. Marc Marquez, in his 200th MotoGP start, delivered a performance that reaffirmed why this circuit remains his fortress. Despite facing immense pressure, a history of injuries, and unpredictable weather beyond the statistics and the victory, there was a story of intense focus, strategic adaptation, and a rider who remains hungry to prove he's not just back, but better than ever from the very beginning of the weekend. Chaos loomed. The forecast predicted rain. The wind was erratic, and grip levels deteriorated sharply following the downpour on Saturday night. While most riders approached the situation with caution, Marquez saw opportunity. Saturday's sprint was evidence after a terrifying near crash at Turn 1 in wet conditions. He launched a comeback that felt like it was pulled straight out of a video game. "Those crashes gave me extra concentration," he later admitted at Turn 1. "I realized there was a tailwind. You can't brake in the same spot. The bike responds differently." He also noted how strange the transition felt from wet practice to slick tires on Sunday, when you ride many laps in the wet. "Switching back to slicks feels weird. The bike feels heavy at first." But even that didn't throw him off balance. He analyzed the conditions, noted the crash marks left by rivals, and treated them as warnings, mental reminders. To stay sharp, he was starting from pole. Marquez didn't just lead. He built a commanding 6.9-second gap by the finish, claiming his 9th Premier Class win at Sachsenring and his 69th career MotoGP victory. It also marked his 7th Grand Prix win of the 2025 season, and, fittingly, came during his 200th start in the Premier Class. "I'm overjoyed." Marquez said, "This was one of the races I circled on the calendar. This track is special to me. And this weekend was perfect. Yesterday in the rain was key, today in the dry. I had the pace. I just had to avoid overdoing it," when asked whether he preferred a dominant win or a comeback. Marquez didn't hesitate. "You enjoy a win like yesterday's sprint more. The adrenaline is higher, but today was a test of control. In Austin, I crashed. Today, I kept my focus." It was evident that Marquez wasn't just riding fast, he was riding smart. He even revealed how his mindset shifted when he noticed the carnage around him. "I saw so many yellow flags, and I focused even more." What stood out most wasn't just the speed. It was the flawless execution. Fabio Di Giannantonio, who was chasing him before crashing, said it best. He was just perfect, lap after lap, corner after corner. That perfection was made possible by a smoother, more precise riding style, a style Marquez has honed aboard the Ducati. "This bike allows me to ride more precisely," he explained. "Today, I wasn't riding at my limit. I could have done 123 south like in practice, but I chose to manage the tires." He didn't need to push to the edge. Instead, he built his lead 10th by 10th. No reckless lunges, just consistent, calculated pace. Marquez described the difference in mindset. "I looked for balance, not giving away a second per lap, just gaining tenths, then managing the race." That fine balance between caution and aggression often defines the difference between a champion and a gambler. With fewer rubbered-in lines due to the overnight rain and many riders gambling on the hard front tire, grip was scarce. Riders like Fabio Di Giannantonio and Marco Bezzecchi pushed too hard at Turn 1 and paid the price. Marquez, however, saw Turn 1 for what it was: a trap. It was tricky. He said, "Less rubber from Saturdays, rain plus a tailwind. I adjusted. You can't brake in the same place." Even when Ducati's technical boss Gigi Dall'Igna warned him pre-race to be cautious at Turn 11, Marquez acknowledged the advice, but interpreted it his own way. "In the wet, everything is tricky, especially that corner. You come from the left side with a good feeling, But when you switch to the right, the bike reacts totally different during qualifying, after nearly crashing at turn 11. Marquez gave himself a hand gesture to calm down, and that self-control may have made all the difference, while Marc had a textbook race on Sunday. His brother Alex Marquez delivered something even more surprising, a gritty, hard-earned second-place finish despite carrying an injury. Alex had fractured his hand just 2 weeks earlier, and Assen still visibly stiff and struggling with mobility. He admitted, "I was really stiff by the end. It felt like arm pump on the whole left side, my shoulder. Everything, but rather than pushing too hard, he played it safe. I was like a passenger. I didn't have the grip to turn. I was just saying, okay." Another left corner, "I wasn't in a good mood riding yet," he finished, and that was more than most could say on a day when only 10 of 18 riders reached the checkered flag. Fabio Di Gianantonio and Bezzecchi both crashed in front of him at turn 1. Alex stayed calm, inherited second, and held off Pecco Bagnaia by just 0.7 seconds in the final laps. "I think the injury actually helped me avoid crashing," he joked to guys in front. Realistically, we were in P4, but I never expected a podium. Alex now sits 83 points behind Marc in the standings, but more importantly, 64 ahead of Bagnaia, though the title may be slipping out of reach. His consistency and 0 DNFs have positioned him as a strong contender for second overall. This race wasn't ordinary for either Marquez brother. For Marc, it was about knowing when not to push. For Alex, it was about knowing when not to give up. Alex admitted that Brno, just 3 days after Sachsenring, would be another brutal test. "These 2 weekends, I just have to survive." He said, "We survived the first one in a good mood. Brno has more right-hand corners and fewer hard direction changes, so it should be better, but there's still risk. Hopefully it'll be easier, but with the direction changes, it might still be tough." Meanwhile, Pecco Bagnaia now trails Marc by a colossal 147 points. The championship isn't mathematically over, but in every practical sense, it is, unless Marc suffers multiple DNFs. Even Marquez, usually cautious, admitted, "Do I have the title in my pocket? I prefer to stay pessimistic. We've only done 11 races, anything can happen still." The truth is clear. Marquez is winning in the wet, the dry, in sprints, and full-length Grand Prix. Whether he's leading or chasing, he has adapted to the Ducati mastered tire management and learned the perfect moments to attack and when to hold back. Even Francesco Bagnaia admitted before the weekend, "This is a track where everyone expects Marc to destroy the rest. I'll try to give it everything." He did, but it wasn't enough. The Sachsenring wasn't just another win. It was a milestone. Marquez celebrated his 200th MotoGP start with his 69th career victory, leapfrogging Giacomo Agostini on the all-time list only. Valentino Rossi remains ahead. "It's super nice to reach 200 races with a win." Marquez said, "When you win, you have fun, and this season, I'm having a lot of fun." What makes this run even more extraordinary is how recently Marquez was contemplating retirement. "My brother said he knew I'd return, but I was in a different place mentally. I knew I was fast, but I had to prove it. That proof now echoes in every track he dominates, every record he breaks. The Sachsenring is reportedly close to extending its MotoGP deal for 5 more years, and if it does, expect Marc Marquez to circle it in red once again. "This is one of the tracks I love." He said, "Some of the walls are too close, especially in the wet, but it's a special place, and the feeling is mutual in Germany." Marc Marquez once again reminded the world that in the chaos of modern racing, one thing remains constant: you don't bet against the king of the ring.